in the last stream, we were working our way through the Getting Started questline here, and right at the end of the last episode, we acquired our first zombie villager, which we took over to the healing springs, converting that zombie villager into a regular villager, and then from there we used this echo encoder to convert the regular villager into an unemployed worker token. And I believe that the plan for today is going to be to start using those worker tokens to put the villagers to work and hopefully use them to automate the unearthing that we've been doing manually up until now. Because currently, if we want to get resources, we have to place down dust, dirt, gravel, or sand, and then use our crude brush here to manually sift through the gravel, the dirt, the dust, the sand to get all kinds of different wares. We did, at the very end of the last episode, also level up our unearther level, so that now if we hover over the brush, we have level 3, Journeyman, which means we do actually get diamonds from brushing gravel, which is also very useful. I do think before we continue too much, it might not be a terrible idea for me to kind of do a few stacks of gravel, dust, sand, just kind of compress them down, hammer them down, and dust them to get a bunch of resources so that we're not spending too much time today coming back and doing more dusting to get like little bits of iron and gold as and when we need them. But before we do any of that, if I am not mistaken, we do have more lore available at spawn, because now that we have this token of mindfulness, it says the Echo of Guidance will guide us on our next steps. So over here, we can now go ahead and complete this stage, and in doing so, we have now unlocked yet another task. It looks like the voiceover isn't working for this one, so I guess we'll read it instead. It says, with these tokens, the work is now able to reboot the archives of 3 additional echoes. Their upgrades will assist you in restoring the first segments of the world engine. The echoes may appear similar in form, but each has the personality of their most successful predecessors artificially recreated. We hope this is to your liking. Each echo can now be found in the lobby above with their respective archives. Your questbook allows you to set a waypoint on your map with each of their locations. The Echo of the Quartermaster manages knowledge on storage systems and other general miscellaneous items. The Echo of the Machinist specializes on mechanical systems and basic automated machinery. And the Echo of the Magician focuses on arcane and magical sources. And our current task now is to return once I've completed the Quartermasters and at least one additional Echo's world engine upgrade. And so I'm assuming now that if we head on up this way, we have access to more of these projections that are going to kind of assist us along with different areas of the quest book. For example, I did see previously that there was like a little cave this way. This is the archive of the Magician. And so down here is our magic-based echo.
Greetings, seeker of wisdom. I assume you wish to uncover the magical ways of the world in order to restore the world engine. Even within this endless stone world, source yet flows. 'Tis drawn from the very foundations of the world and the lifeblood inhabiting the stone. Begin by acquiring resources imbued with magical essence. Seek out the archwood, born of saplings unearthed by your assistance.
So this wants us to get an archwood plank. It says acquired by unearthing saplings from my assistants. Again, I'm assuming that's kind of referring to the villages that we have. I have just been informed by the Twitch chat that we do have flight whilst we're in this lobby area, which is going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier. This guy here is the Machinist. Let's go see what this guy has to say.
So, you're the new helper. Not sure how much you'll be able to get done with those soft, clean hands, but I'm more than happy to be surprised. Let's make sure you've at least got the basics before you go off and do your own thing. Here, take this tool Pa prepped for you ahead of time.
Our task here is to claim the Entropy Manipulator. So right away here, we actually get given the Entropy Manipulator just for coming to this guy.
That Entropy Manipulator should have enough energy to convert some stone into lava, which you can then turn into obsidian. It's the only material you can get right now that can handle the alloy infusion you'll need for the next world engine upgrade. You'll need to make some train casings first. These should serve as a strong base for the next casings we'll be infusing.
And so now our next quest is to craft a train casing. So those two are both kind of pseudo-optional, at least for now, because the quest specifically wanted us to do the Quartermaster and then at least one of either the Machinist or the Magician before we can progress forward. And so I guess the third and final new echo that we have available to us is the Quartermaster.
Howdy, stranger. Been a hot minute since I seen one of your kind round these parts. I'll cut straight to the chase. I'm gonna give you some chores, and when they're done, we can repair that rusty old world engine with this old Quartermaster's know-how. As it is, I'm the proud owner of one of them major upgrades for the world engine. So, unfortunately for you, you's gotta do as you're told no matter what. I'm just messing with ya. Well, kinda. The machine blocks are essential, but I'll be nice and keep your first job real easy. Go out there and make a machine that can make circuits and metallic alloys, and a sturdy casing component. Try not to get your hand stuck in the infusion intake like Mary Beth done last summer, bless her heart.
So this guy wants me to craft a metallurgic infuser and a dielectric casing. And so now in the quest book, we, I believe, are at the very end of the getting started quest line. We get 5 extra books there. And if we look in the quest book, we have unlocked a new quest line, Tier 1 Foundation. And in here, we have 3 separate quest lines, one for the Magician, which we've done, one for the Quartermaster, which we have done, and we actually got an enchanted book as a reward there. I'll check that in just a second. And of course, one for the Machinist as well. And we can see here the quests that each of them want us to do. Specifically, I think we're going to start with the Quartermaster here, trying to get the Metallurgic Infuser and work our way down to our first big upgrade. But before we do any of that, we're going to go back home to our regular base because I do want to get the kind of basic resource automation up and running. And to do that, we need to go back to the Getting Started quest line and see about actually setting up one of these unearthers. The enchanted book we got is Boon of the Earth 5. Ores may be found when mining stone. Interesting. I don't know how useful that's going to be, but I guess we'll find out. We also got given an Arcane Grove Locator, which can teleport us to the entrance if we're within 256 blocks. I do not see an Arcane Grove on our map, so if it is here, it's going to be very far away. But now, though, we'll throw that away. And if we want to get the Unearther here, we need 5 tinted glass, which we can make with amethyst shards and regular glass. And then we also need 3 polished deep slate slabs. For that, we're probably going to have to smelt up a little bit of deep slate. That should be fine. Sand we have as well, which we can, of course, smelt up into glass. I'm assuming here that I'm going to have to first craft up polished deep slate, which is going to require 4 deep slate. So if we do something like this, never mind, I am completely wrong here. You make polished deep slate by crafting just cobbled deep slate, and then from there you can craft that into polished deep slate slabs. And as soon as we have a little bit of glass and of course some more amethyst shards, we should be able to make the 5 tinted glass required. And of course, the Unearther. Nice. So now, in here, it says the worker token the villager converted into was just an example of what the Echo Encoder can do. If you encode villagers with specific jobs, you can put them to work for you in an Unearther. This is a 3x3x3 multi-block that allows you to automate block brushing. All it requires is a little bit of villager labor. And so here, we have how to train villagers. According to the Echoes, recently cured villagers are unskilled. You must train them to increase their unearthing levels. Once they are placed into the Unearther, they will slowly gain levels over time. You can place them back into the world using the token, but we'll need to pick them back up again with the Echo Encoder. And then there's a warning that placing the villagers back into the world as a token will cause the villager to lose their job and levels. While they can work without food, feeding them is probably a good idea. The food you feed them will give them special bonuses depending on what you feed them. More shanks equals faster working speed, and more saturation equals longer lasting food. And then over here, this is what we actually need to do first. We need to actually employ our villager before turning it into a token, because right now we have an unemployed villager, and I'm fairly certain that if I were to place down this Unearther, we cannot currently place this in here because it's not able to do any dusting. If we want it to be able to do something, for example, if we wanted it to sift some gravel for us, we would have to get a geologist. And that's exactly what this quest right here is for. It says to be able to use the worker token in an Unearther, you will need a villager that has one of these 3 jobs. The archaeologist can brush up dirt, dust, mud, and sand. The geologist can brush gravel, soul sand, and crushed kiwi. The dimensionalist can brush up netherrack, end stone, and other stone. And so for us, we initially want to get the geologist, which requires a salvaging table. The salvaging table here is 3 copper, 1 iron pickaxe, 1 iron axe, 1 smithing table, and then 1 polished deep slate with 2 amethyst dust. Now it looks like in this pack, the way that we get amethyst dust is by using a cutting board. And so if we do something like this, we can get our cutting board, we can place that down, we can then right-click on some amethyst, and if we then right-click that with our crushing hammer, we get ourselves 2 amethyst dust. Nice. And then from there, that should basically be everything that we're going to need to actually make the salvaging table here. We just need to go ahead and, first of all, craft up a smithing table. And then from there, I think we're just going to be missing, by the looks of it, 1 copper, and then I guess a pickaxe and an axe. It is going to let us use the kind of half-used axe and pickaxe that we currently have. Also, we have been visited by a quantum goat who decided immediately to attack us, which I don't know how to feel about. Okay, well, I guess we're going to have to get rid of the quantum goat. It did give us a copper, which is actually surprisingly useful because that is all that we were missing to get the salvaging table. And so now, in theory, what we should be able to do is place this down, and if we put down a villager next to the salvaging table, that villager will become a geologist, and then we can use our echo encoder to go ahead and pick up that villager. Now, before we do that, I have been warned that we need to duplicate the worker token before we employ them, because as we saw in the last episode, we can turn 1 worker token into 2 worker tokens with either 32 bread or 32 baked potatoes, but this only works if the worker token is unemployed. If you employ it, you are then unable to duplicate that token, and we would have to get another zombie villager and run him back through to the healing springs and kind of go through the whole rigmarole that we went through at the end of the last episode. And so to avoid that, what we're going to do, I'm going to make a new axe and pickaxe just because I do want to do 2 things here. I'd love to pick up this crafting table because it turns out we can upgrade this to a crafting station, which is the exact same as a crafting table, but it allows you to leave items in the crafting station for future crafts, which for me is just a straight upgrade. And real quick, what we need to do now is we need to get some dirt, which thankfully we have a ton of, and we need to start growing some wheat. Now, the good news here is that I believe the same mod that allows us to shift and make our trees grow faster is also going to allow us to shift to make the wheat grow faster. And so if we do something like this, we should then be able to go ahead and ultimine her this. We totally can. And then if we're fast enough, we can hopefully plant these down before they dry out. And then if we just shift, I believe we can also hold ultimine and harvest, and that will harvest all of the wheat at the same time. And so if we just spam the shift button whilst holding the ultimine and right mouse button, we can get a ton of wheat very, very quickly. And then of course from there, we can just craft that wheat directly into bread. And as soon as we have at least 32 bread, we can then open our action pad, head on through to the world engine, and that should allow us to duplicate our worker token. And it totally does. Nice. And so now, if we do a /home, the chat has told me, by the way, that if you do /home, it opens the portal. If you do /home space home, it just takes you straight home. You don't have to walk through the portal. It does appear that I have put this unearthed down in an awkward spot, though, because now I am the one who is going to be trapped working here forever, which is not ideal. And so real quick, let's see about moving that potentially just kind of 1 block back for now. Something like that, right up against the wall. That should allow us to do the /home command. There we go, without getting trapped inside of the unearther. And so now what we should be able to do is take 1 of our worker tokens, right click to place that guy down. He is immediately going to become a geologist, at which point we can then of course use our echo encoder, shift right click to pick this guy up, and we now have a worker token that is a geologist. And you'll see that he does start out at level 1, novice, but if we go ahead and place him into here with a brush and with something to brush, again, specifically for us here, it's going to be gravel. We actually don't have any gravel, although the good news is, of course, that we can use our cobblestone here to get some gravel very quickly. Perfect. We can then decraft that and throw it in here. And so, as mentioned in the quest book, food is not required, but if we do put food in here, that is going to give this guy a speed boost. And you'll see that now we essentially have an automatic gravel brushing system because this guy is just going to keep working for us 24/7, 365 days a year, which is good, so long as he has a brush with enough durability. The brush doesn't last that long. This crude brush can only do 128 pieces of gravel before it breaks, and you'll see again, because the worker here is a novice, level 1, he's only getting the level 1 drops, which are iron and tiny coal. The good news is that he levels up quite quickly. We're almost a quarter of the way to level 2 already. Once he hits level 2, we'll start getting things like lead, osmium, zinc, and aluminum, and then level 3 is where we currently are. We'll start getting diamonds and lapis, and then it continues from there up to level 4, and then level 5 is the best. And so we do kind of want to keep this guy going almost all of the time to try and level him up as fast as possible. It does turn out that we can actually make a higher tier brush already. The regular brush is just 1 feather, 1 copper, and 1 stick, I believe all of which we have. And so if we quickly do something like this, we can get a higher tier brush, which we can kind of immediately throw into here to keep this guy going for 384 more gravel blocks, which I think is preferable to this crude brush right here. We don't currently have a limitless supply of feathers, although in theory we should be able to get them fairly easily by summoning some chickens, or we can use the gateway pearl that is sold by the Echo of Guidance to allow us to summon chickens as well, which is going to allow us to get some feathers. We can go one step further here. We could look at making the reinforced brush. This triples up the durability again, all the way up to 1,152. It does require a diamond, although those are now acquirable for us via the brushing of gravel, as well as a smithing template, which I believe we can buy from the Echo of Guidance. And so, real quick, if we head on back to spawn, if I'm not mistaken, we should be able, to purchase one of these. We do have almost 200 bucks, and so I'm going to go ahead and buy one. If we then do a quick /home, we should be able to grab the diamond that we got earlier and make one more smithing table to hopefully allow us to actually upgrade the brush. So if I do real quick one of these and then quickly make sure that I dump some stuff here because we got way too much junk in our inventory. Let's also see about upgrading this one. If I do this, and this, that does allow us to upgrade to the reinforced brush. And then there is actually an unbreakable brush. Unfortunately, though, I don't think we have the netherite scrap available to us just yet to actually make this, but we can go ahead and throw this brush in here, and that is going to last for quite a long time. And already you can see that our worker token here has leveled up to level 2. Now, almost right away here, this guy has run out of gravel, and that is where the extra quests at the top here come into play. You may be surrounded by stone, but that doesn't help you for automation. The cobble generator will generate cobblestone over time, with higher tiers generating more per tick. You can also create an auto hammer to break the cobblestone down into different blocks needed for the unearther. And so the idea here is that if we go ahead and make ourselves a cobblestone generator and then an auto hammer, we should be able to automatically produce cobblestone, turn it into gravel, and then feed that gravel into the unearther to give this guy a consistent supply of gravel that he can then turn into whatever wares he's currently able to produce at whatever level he currently happens to be at. Now, the quest book, I believe, does also mention that lava can be easily acquired by using the gift you get from meeting the Echo of the Machinist, or we can get it from the Nether Ring. We did get given this entropy manipulator from the Echo of the Machinist, and as it mentioned, we can go ahead and turn stone into lava by just right-clicking on it. Now, to make that happen, I do think we're going to want to have a bucket available to us. Otherwise, that sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. And so real quick, let's see if we can't get 2 more iron ingots to make a regular bucket, at which point I think it should just be as simple as right-clicking this entropy manipulator on some stone and then picking the lava up. Now we're probably going to need another bucket as well to get water. Thankfully, we did make our first bucket of water in the first episode. It is over in our wooden basin. And with that, we basically have everything we need to make the stone cobble generator. We just need to get 6 compressed stone, which for us just means getting just shy of a stack of cobblestone and smelting it into regular stone. While we wait for that cobblestone to smelt, the iron hammer here is also not too difficult to make. It is just 2 iron, 2 gold, 2 glass, 2 redstone, and 1 iron hammer. And if we're lucky, we might even be able to use our nearly broken iron hammer here to save us having to craft a fresh one just for this craft. And if I'm not mistaken, it looks like that is actually just going to work. Nice. And so if I'm not mistaken here, the way this works is you place down 2 inventories either side of the auto hammer. I don't think it requires power. If I'm not mistaken, the blue here is the input and the orange here is the output. You can kind of see just about the arrow goes up on that one and then out on that one before we put the chest down. And so if I'm not mistaken, I think we can put cobblestone into this chest and that's going to then be pulled in automatically, crushed into gravel, and then outputted to this chest. It is. Nice. I do think that it's going to make a lot more sense for us to use storage drawers here as opposed to using the chest, just because, again, there's only going to be one item that we ever use. It's going to be cobblestone on one side and gravel on the other, and so I feel like we might as well go ahead and craft up 2 storage drawers, put one down either side of this hammer. We are out of coal here. Let me quickly fill that up. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to grab this, and I feel like we might as well put it on top. Now, we were given some of these opaque item pipes for completing this quest right here. It does say the Unearther supports automatic item input and output via hoppers and pipes. And so I think what we should be able to do here, we're going to have our cobblestone generator. That cobblestone generator is going to generate cobblestone and push it into the storage drawer here. Then we're going to put down our hammer like this. We do want to make sure that we put the hammer down the right way though, because we need the blue side, which we did have right the first time. It's like this. We want the blue side where the cobblestone's going to be. That is then going to turn the cobblestone into gravel, which is going to be produced here. And then we can use this opaque item pipe to extract out of this drawer down into the Unearther. And the way that these item pipes work from Oritech is you just right click on the side you want to extract from, like so, and it will set that side to extract. And so now, if we were to kind of simulate this by placing some cobblestone into this drawer, we should see that cobblestone being turned into gravel, and then we should see that gravel make its way down into the Unearther. Nice. And so now we just need to get all of our stone, which we now have. We can craft that down into 6 compressed stone, and once we have 6 compressed stone, we can make the stone cobble generator. It looks like in order to upgrade this, we're going to need to get ourselves either a smeltery from the Productive Metalworks mod, or we're going to need a super cooler from FTB Stuff and Things, neither of which we currently have access to. And so for now, we're going to have to deal with this guy, but that should hopefully start to generate cobblestone. And it looks like already that is producing cobblestone faster than the iron auto hammer can turn cobblestone into gravel. And that hammer is also producing gravel faster than our Unearther can sift it. And so for now, this setup is going to work just fine. And so now that we have this set up, we could kind of do with duplicating this kind of 2 more times. We could do with getting 2 more villagers and converting those to different jobs. We also got a quantum computer core from Advanced AE. I think that's a very expensive item usually, but something that is not actually useful for us at all at this moment in time. But we'll put that away. The same is also true for this paradox machine here. I think this is a much more late game item than we have any means of using right now. But what I was saying is that I think we should look at getting 2 more Unearthers, one that can sift sand and one that can sift dust. Because if we can automate all 3 of those, we're going to get all of the resources that we want. Before we do that though, one thing that we can now look at doing is we can look at automatically taking all of these chunks and crafting them into the clusters that we then smelt. And there's a few ways we could do this. In previous packs, I've used the compacting drawer. There's 2 versions, the simple and the regular. The simple compacting drawer would work here. If we pumped in the iron chunks, it would then automatically make those available in both chunk and cluster form. And then we could, if we wanted to, use something like the iron furnace to automatically smelt those. However, one thing that I've not used recently is the compacting upgrade from the sophisticated storage mod. This isn't too difficult to make, and the idea here is that you can place these upgrades into a sophisticated chest. Now, usually you're just able to craft these sophisticated chests from the sophisticated storage mod. However, in this pack, we have to get ourselves a basic to copper tier storage upgrade, which is going to allow us to convert a regular chest into a copper chest that is from the sophisticated storage mod. And for that, we need to go back to spawn, because I believe that those upgrades are only purchasable from the store here. Now, it looks like, according to the quest book here, we can buy the basic to copper tier upgrade from the Echo of the Quartermaster, which is not this guy. This guy, though, does sell a random sophisticated chest upgrade. And so I think the idea here is that if we wanted to, we could go and spend 10 coins on getting specifically the basic to copper, But if we wanted to gamble a little bit, we could go ahead and buy the random one here. This does have a 40% chance of giving us a basic to copper, but it also has a 30% chance of giving us the basic to iron, which is even higher. Basic to gold is a 20% chance, basic to diamond is a 10% chance, and then there is a 1% chance that we get a basic to netherite upgrade. I'm going to take the risk, I'm going to place it, and hopefully we got unlucky. All right, we wasted 5 coins. That teaches you not to gamble. Either way, back over here, we should now be able to go ahead and throw down just a regular Minecraft chest, and then we should be able to use this upgrade to convert that into a copper chest from the sophisticated storage mod. And so now the idea here is that we can go ahead and use one of our pipes to extract from the unearther. That's going to start pulling everything into the chest, and then from there, if we go ahead and make this compacting upgrade, you'll see it says that it compacts items into their compressed variants, only 2x2 recipes. The idea here is that you place these into the upgrade slots. The idea, by the way, of the higher tier upgrades is that as you move up through the tiers, you get more and more upgrade slots, and so you can make the chests do more and more things. And so if, for example, we got very lucky and we got the basic to netherite tier upgrade, we would have gotten like 5 slots here to be able to make a very powerful chest. Unfortunately, we did not get lucky this time, and so we are going to have to deal with what we have. Thankfully, it should not be too difficult here for us to go ahead and make all of the pistons required for this compacting upgrade. Can I get 4 of these? I cannot. That is because we are missing just a little bit of iron. I guess for now, we're going to have to manually do 1 of these. And then back over here, we are just missing an upgrade base, which is even more iron with even more planks, which we should now be able to make. Boom and boom. And then from there, we just need like 1 more piston. Fantastic. And 2 more iron, which we have. Nice. And so with the compacting upgrade now, if I put that in, it should, I believe, automatically start to compress these down. There we go. If we change this, by default, it's set to compact only uncraftable. If you click this and change it to compact anything, you'll see that it's going to automatically start to compact down all of the things that can be compacted, which for us, by the looks of it, is everything apart from the tiny coal, because the tiny coal is not a 2x2 compact. You'd have to craft this into regular coal, which it turns out is actually fine. And then from there, what we might be able to do here is go ahead and throw down our furnace. If we put the furnace down like this, the benefit of the iron furnace, or one of the benefits of the iron furnace over the regular furnace here, is that we can set this to auto input and auto output. And so if we did, for example, set the back of this to input, we can then turn auto input on, and that's going to pull anything that is smeltable from this chest into the furnace. The good news here is that these chunks are not smeltable, and so you just can't put these in here. Like, I cannot put it in. No matter how much I click to try and put it in, it doesn't work, and so it is only going to pull in things that are smeltable. Now, we could, if we wanted to, also set this back to fuel/eject like this, and that would auto pull in the tiny coal again because auto input is set on, but I don't think that we can have it pull both the smeltable item and the tiny coal at the same time. One way that we could potentially get around that is by simply getting another storage door, placing that down maybe like here, filling that with tiny coal, and then if we make sure that the left there is set to purple, which it is, we could then look at just using a pipe to extract into here. Now, the trouble is that right now we don't have a way of locking this, and so if this drawer ever gets empty, we're going to run into a problem. Can I set that to disconnect? I actually don't know if I can. I'll set this to extract, and I'll set that to extract. That should take the tiny coal out of here and put it into this drawer, which it is doing. And then from there, that tiny coal is being pulled into here because the left side is set to fuel input. And then finally, all we would need to do is get some kind of chest and or barrel to allow us to store the final outputs. If we put this here and we set the right side to output, we can then turn auto output on, and that's going to push all of the cooked iron, zinc, nickel, copper, whatever it is that we get from this setup into that chest. And we have now almost fully automated this. The only thing now that is not automated is the brush itself. The gravel is coming in continuously. The cobblestone is being made passively, and even though the villager is not being fed here, he is still working. It would be potentially ideal if we could get food automatically into here as well, but that's not necessary. It is just a bonus to have. And so I think now what we would like to do is potentially look, like I said, at getting 2 more of these unearthers as well as 2 more villagers so that we can hopefully do the exact same thing for sand and for dust. And not too long later, I've crafted up 2 more unearthers, and I've acquired 2 more worker tokens via yet more bread over at the world engine. And so what we should be able to do now is craft a decorated pot, because again, looking at this quest here, if we want to be able to brush the dust and the sand, we need 2 archaeologists. And so let's go ahead and throw this down kind of like out here maybe. I just want to make sure it's far enough away that they don't get any other kind of employment. And so if we do this, we should hopefully get an archaeologist, and then if we do the same again, we should get another archaeologist. We do, fantastic. We can put both of these into our 2 new unearthers, one in here and one in here. And now, in theory, we should be able to put sand into one of these, like this, and then let's say dust into the other. If we quickly do something like this, we can turn our sand into dust, and then, of course, throw that in like so. And if we can get 2 more of these brushes, we should be able to get these guys going. Now, we have leveled this guy up to level 3, and so this guy is now actually getting us both diamonds and full regular coal. He's no longer making tiny coal, to the point where I actually don't think this drawer is useful. I think we should probably get rid of this, and by get rid of it, I do mean kind of empty it out first, like that. And then I think if we just put a pipe down like this, because the left side here is set to fuel input, I think only fuel will go in there. So if I take this out, I think coal should make its way in. That did work. It did put a coal in. It's just real slow, which I think is probably fine because the coal does last for quite a while. And so hopefully that is fine. It might be worth looking at upgrading the pipe here. One thing chat is also pointing out is that if we add lapis to the block list here, that's going to stop the chest from crafting that lapis into these lapis bricks, because these lapis bricks are not downcraftable back into lapis. And so we have kind of accidentally made 6 lapis bricks here, which is lapis we're not going to be able to get back. Either way though, now let me go ahead and I guess see if we can't get 2 more brushes. If we did want to get 2 more diamond brushes, we would need to get some more feathers. And that's probably a good time for us to take a look at the pearl that we can buy from this guy. Over here, this gateway pearl, it says the key rewards are 6 cows, 6 chickens, 6 sheep, 6 pigs, and 6 rabbits. And so if we purchase this and we do /home, I believe the idea is that we can just put this down. And I don't know if we're going to have 6 waves of hostile mobs here, or 6 waves of passive mobs. If it's passive mobs, that's going to be very easy. If it's hostile mobs, that's going to be less easy, but should still be doable. And I believe the idea is that once we've killed 3 waves of zombies, we should be rewarded with the passive mobs that we just saw. We probably should have also looked potentially at making a diamond sword, given that we are making diamonds automatically now with our central unearther there. Real quick, actually, if I take 2 of those, we can probably make one before the next wave comes in. Also, looks like we're getting a lot of wheat for some reason. Whoops, let's do a quick run away from those guys. I don't know if there's a punishment for going too far away from the pearl, from the gateway. It looks like those guys were pulled back, which is actually quite useful for us. We are timed. There's a 3-minute timer at the top there, so there is only so long we can do this for. But this does give us enough time to eat some bread, which is good. Okay, that is wave 2 done, which gave us some more stuff as a reward. We've kind of not got the inventory space for it, but I'll take it nonetheless. And now we should be on to our 3rd and final wave, which might be creepers. No, it's zombies and spiders. That's actually fine. I was very worried that it might be creepers for a second there. Okay, so we did die there, but it looks like we do still have 3 minutes to give this a go. And so, oh gosh, oh no. Hold on, we can do this, we can do this. We just have to get to our stuff before they kill us, which is easier said than done. Oh geez, okay, we've actually run out of cooldown time, which is not good. Let me... Okay, we've made it back. I'm going to move far enough away to where they despawn. I'm going to eat some bread. I'm going to have my potatoes actually on my hand because I think those are actually going to help us a lot more than the bread is. We do still have enough time here, I think, to make this happen, despite the fact that we died a few times here. So, real quick, let's make sure we eat our stuffed potatoes far enough away from these guys to where they do teleport home. Try not to kill our sheep, even though it doesn't really matter too much if we do, because we've got a ton of those guys. Let's not die. We've still got 2 minutes left. We've got loads of time. Time is not our problem. Our problem is just making sure that we do not die. There's only one enemy left. Chat, we've done it. We've done it. Here he is. I see him over there. Let me get rid of this guy. And we should be about to be bombarded with a horde of passive mobs, as well as a lot of food. Wait, there's a fourth wave? I thought there was only 3 waves. Oh, no. All right. We've done it. Look at that. We now have a base that is full of items and mobs, and there's a loot bee dropping stuff as well. We definitely need way more space than what we have currently. The good news is I see a chest right there. If I can grab that, we can maybe throw this down and maybe start to empty out some of the massive amount of junk that we have clogging up our inventory here. And of course, now that we have all of these passive mobs, we can hopefully go ahead and get ourselves a few more feathers, which should make getting these bushes just that little bit easier. I do think it's probably going to be in our best interest, so that we don't have to do that again, to maybe breed together a couple of these chickens here, just so that we can keep the chicken farm going without having to fight mobs every time we want more chickens. And once all of those guys are done, then we can maybe look at doing one of these. There we go. Nice. That actually gave us 2 feathers right away. So this is a little bit awkward. I'm going to turn friendly creature sounds like all the way down there, just so we don't have to listen to those guys too much. And then now I'm going to go ahead and craft up 2 more of the regular bushes, and then we'll also go ahead and I think upgrade them to 2 more reinforced bushes as well. That is going to cost us, oh hello my friend, that is going to cost us a bit more at the shop to buy more upgrade templates, but I think it is probably going to be worth it. And there we go. We have 2 more reinforced bushes. Let's put 1 in here and 1 in here. That's going to allow us to start actually processing the sand and the dust. And so now, if we wanted to kind of fully automate this, we would need to get a few more hammers. On this side, we could put another hammer down next to this drawer. That would turn this gravel into dirt, and then we'd need another one that turns it into sand, and then a third one that turns it into dust. On this one, we'd have to have one that turns it from cobble into gravel again, and then gravel into dirt, and then dirt into dust. And so we're going to need 6 more hammers, 3 on each side if we want to fully automate this, but that should be very doable because the hammers are just iron, gold, and redstone, and over here, we've got a decent amount of iron, and then gold and redstone we are going to start to get slowly but surely from these unearthers. And of course, we do still have the option of doing that kind of stuff manually if we want to make this just a little bit faster. All right, so not too long later, and I have managed to herd all of the passive mobs behind this new fence gate here. Essentially, I went through the gate and then used carrots, wheat, and seeds to lure them all. They all kind of jump over the stairs, over the fence, and that keeps them on the other side away from us. All of them apart from the rabbits, of course. And now we also, I believe, have everything we need to make the extra hammers as well. And so if I were to go ahead and craft up 5 regular hammers, like so, we should then be able to craft up 5 auto hammers. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Perfect. And then from there, we really just need to get 5 more storage drawers as well, which should be very doable because we've got a ton of wood thanks to our botany pot. Let's do something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we actually might need even more than 5. I'm going to make a bunch of these just in case. Let's take 5 of those, and then let's make another 5 here. Having extra is always useful. And with that, we can now look at setting these up. We just need to make sure they go down in the right direction. So we are going to have to put down a bit of cobblestone to make our way up here, and we want to make sure that that is not the way that goes down. We want to make sure that this goes down with the orange side on this side. Chat is right, we do actually need 6 hammers, not 5. Do I have a single piece of glass left? The answer may surprise you. It is no. The good news is we've got a ton of compressed dirt here. By a ton, I mean a tiny bit of compressed dirt, which we can very quickly turn into sand, which we can, of course, then very quickly smelt in our newly upgraded secondary iron furnace. Let's also clear out some inventory space here as well, and throw some more fuel in here. Fantastic. I think for putting these down, we might just have to put them down like that. That is, I believe, correct, and that should start turning the cobblestone there into gravel, and then we're going to do the same again. We're going to turn the gravel into sand. Now, this is a bit awkward because I don't think we have enough space for this, because the gravel to sand is going to go down like that. Or sorry, gravel to dirt. And then the dirt to sand is where it gets awkward. What we might want to do in this case is kind of move this and put it down. Never mind, chat is telling me that if we want here, we can actually just place the hammers down directly next to each other, like that. And I'm assuming that's going to go directly from cobble to gravel, gravel to dirt, and then dirt to sand, like that. I will have the final draw down here for sand, so if we get rid of the dirt there, that should put sand in there. It totally does. Fantastic. And then we can just go ahead and throw down one of our opaque item pipes like this. Of course, make sure we set it to extract like that. And now that's going to automatically provide sand to this guy, automatically producing all of the sand wares and leveling this guy up in the process. And then, of course, we just need to do the exact same thing over on the other side here. If we do one of these, we can put down the hammer like so, and like so, and I needed one more hammer, which is why we smelted this glass. That should be everything we need. Fantastic. Let's put that down like so, and then we'll of course put the draw down as well. Take out the gravel because this is going to be dust, and then again, exact same process. Boom and boom. Cool. And so now we have gravel, sand, and dust all being made automatically, all being dusted automatically. And then if we were to quickly go and grab 2 more sophisticated upgrades, we should be able to get all of these guys going. I am not going to learn my lesson here. I am going to go ahead, I think, and buy the expensive version again. Let's start with 1. We did get a gold version this time, and so that's giving me the confidence to do it again. And we got an iron version. Okay, not the best we could have gotten, but definitely better than the first 2 times we did that, which I'm happy with. And so now, if we get 2 more chests, we can throw those down here and here. We can upgrade both of those to gold and to iron. We can, of course, make sure that they both are set to receive items from these pipes. And then if we quickly go ahead and make 2 more iron furnaces, we should be able to set up something fairly similar to what we have here, although the system is going to be a bit more convoluted because we kind of need to take all of the coal from this chest and divvy it up amongst the different furnaces, because otherwise that's not going to work, because these don't produce any fuel on their own. But real quick, let me make 2 more compacting upgrades and get these compacting. Chat does make a good point here that what we should probably do, actually, instead of making 3 sophisticated chests, which is what we have done, is we should probably take this sophisticated chest, our best one, put that in the middle, and instead just pipe all of the items to the one central chest. I don't know if we can make these pipes disconnect. There is probably a way to do it, but I think what's going to be easier, actually, is if we do something like this, and we kind of extract down and around into the same centralized chest, and that way all of the resources are all going to go through into here instead of going into 3 separate chests, and then everything can be smelted in this one furnace and can be deposited into that one final output chest. That's going to save us from having to make 3 compacting upgrades, and it's going to mean that if we wanted to, we could just take this sophisticated gold chest, place that over here, and use the extra upgrade slots here to make that just a better chest going forward. And of course, it also just has more space as well, which is kind of just extra useful. At this point, it's probably worth kind of pushing the gold to the front of the queue, because if we can get enough gold here, we can go ahead and upgrade this furnace from iron to gold, which is going to make it a bit faster. I think we probably want to add clay to the blacklist here, not because it's a bad thing to have clay in block form, although actually, I guess no matter what, it's going to smelt. It's either going to smelt into bricks if we leave it in regular form, or it's going to smelt into terracotta if we put it in a different form, neither of which is necessarily great, but for now is not terrible. We have managed to get 14 emeralds though, which means this guy is now actually up at expert level. He's level 4, which is fantastic. And so we could also look at kind of extracting certain items out into their own storage drawers. And now that we have access to an emerald, we could also look at making the configuration tool to lock specific drawers to specific resources, which could also be very useful. As soon as we have enough gold, we should be able to upgrade this. I think it's 1 block plus 7. And so real quick, let's grab this guy and get all of the experience that was locked inside of it, and then upgrade that to gold. We could even then, I think, immediately upgrade that to diamond, and potentially actually straight up to emerald as well, because we do have more than 8 emeralds, so we might as well go one step further. After that, I think it's obsidian, which requires blaze rods. Okay, I was going to say we could make obsidian using the entropy manipulator that we got at the start of the pack, but I guess for now, the emerald is going to have to do. Again, if we make sure that the back is set to input, the left is set to fuel input, and the right is set to output, we can then turn auto input on and auto output on, and that is going to go ahead and smelt these much faster than it was doing previously, which is good. And so now, back in the quest book, I think the only quest left to do in this Getting Started quest line is the Loot Chest quest, which is just a tick box quest, and with that, we have completed the quest line. Here it says the Clavis mod adds special interactions with locked chests. Chests are now locked behind a lock-picking minigame. Line up the needle with the locks and left-click to unlock them. The less you miss and the faster you complete the challenge, the better the loot. Note the chest will still unlock with reduced rewards if you fail. You can also use a lockpick, which is what they've given us here, to completely skip the minigame. And so next time, chat, we're going to come back and we're going to actually start working on this first chapter of the quest book, this Tier 1 Foundation. They want us to complete the Quartermaster's quest line completely and then do one of the others. We might even just look at doing both depending on how things go, but we will look at actually starting to work through this and start acquiring things to upgrade the world engine. Now that we have a good base of automation set up, we're actually generating resources automatically. We're not going to have to do any of that manually. We are going to have to do some base expansion. Things are getting a little bit cramped here, and there is also work to do with this setup specifically because, of course, we could do with storing things like diamonds, redstone, lapis, and bone meal, and things like clay as well, not just leaving them in this chest because otherwise that is eventually going to back up, which is not ideal. It also kind of turns out that I don't think we needed to get these 2 extra chests. They might come in useful at some point in the future, but once we have 1 chest, we can actually upgrade it as well. Right here is a copper to diamond upgrade, and for this, all we really need is 1 redstone torch, which we should be able to acquire. We definitely can. And then if we craft that with 4 iron, like this, that's going to get us the copper to iron upgrade. We can then take 8 gold to turn that into a copper to gold upgrade. And then if we take 8 diamonds, of which we have almost a stack now, we can then turn that into a copper to diamond upgrade, at which point we can then just right click that on here. I don't know if there's a higher tier. There is, but it requires netherite. Here, if we do this, that's going to go ahead and upgrade that to be massive. And it's also going to give us even more upgrade slots should we want to make this even more sophisticated in the future. But that is going to have to be a problem for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of StoneBlock 4 there.